Chelsea end their season against Sunderland at the Stadium of Light on Sunday. It's been a poor season for Chelsea. It's probably the game on the final day with the most riding on it for two different teams in the same game, both in the European picture still. 1 point separating them. Chelsea are in that Conference League spot at the moment. Could still qualify for the Europa League with a win, or a draw could be enough if Brighton lose by a few goals as well. But defeat means they definitely miss out on European football because they will be leapfrogged by at least Sunderland. So yeah, both in for European football, and Matt will come to you first on this and on Chelsea. They have to avoid defeat basically to make any sort of European football, which is remarkable for a team in their position to who has spent as much as they have spent over recent years.
Yeah, I think interesting enough, Sunderland looking to do the Premier League double over Chelsea, aren't they? They won at Stamford Bridge earlier this season, but the last meeting between the two sides at the Stadium of Light was a 1-0 win to Chelsea back in 2016. So decent history when it comes to games against Sunderland, but. Yeah, I think Chelsea as a whole this season, obviously the future, the fans will be hoping that the Alonso appointment, which is very fascinating for me, will be one that they can hope to put this season behind them because it's just been dreadful. I think even last time out against Tottenham, as I mentioned in the Tottenham preview, I thought it was a game between two really poor sides. I thought in terms of adverts for the Premier League, it was, Chelsea for me have got, the signings they made. Obviously, Liam Delap was the one. I'm not picking on him just because of the last game, but his form this season's been dreadful, hasn't he? He's been nowhere near the player they hoped he would. Obviously, Fernandes, Caicedo, these are very good footballers, but in this team, in the system, what's going to happen with them in the summer? Obviously, Cucurella, there's interesting reports coming out of Spain at the moment that Atletico Madrid could potentially make a big play for Cucurella this summer. So that is one to potentially watch. But yeah, as it comes for this game, as you say, if they were to lose and miss out on Europe, it would just be that's the thing with Alonso this summer going there, which makes it more interesting. It's obviously a big club, Chelsea, but no European football. You're never quite sure what's going to happen. Cole Palmer's form is something we could probably do a whole nother podcast on. Will he, his England spot, he's probably going to go, but he's not going to start, is he, for England at the World Cup? He's been off the boil this season badly. They've had too many players that have underperformed. Obviously, Garnacho went there. They were hoping big things for him. He struggled badly, been one of the poorest signings of the season. So, yeah, this is a massive game, as you mentioned, in terms of the games this weekend. We're quite a lot, haven't really got loads riding on them. Even from an optics point of view for Chelsea fans, just if they lose this game, it's just such a big disappointment. And Sunderland will obviously be hoping to inflict more damage for their own reasons.
Yeah, I mean, Oliver, Chelsea could still finish as low as 13th. It's very unlikely because it'd take goal swings, but I say that to emphasize, how poor a season this could end up being, how low down in the table they could end up finishing. Obviously, with the Xabi Alonso news, there's a lot more optimism now than there maybe was a couple of weeks ago, even though they went and lost the FA Cup final as well. But I mean, what do you make of that Xabi Alonso news? Is he going to be enough to turn what has been a dreadful season into a good season next season? I've gone back and forth on it and wondering why would Xabi Alonso choose Chelsea when he's maybe got the pick of most clubs in the world. But I think it's the type of club where the ceiling's quite high. Obviously, there's difficulties working under that ownership, but it's almost I put probably Real Madrid in this category as well. It's almost a club you can go to, and even if you fail, your personal reputation doesn't take a huge hit because people question the club more than they question maybe the manager.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's an interesting one in general, just that, Alonso has decided to go there. Me and Ben spoke earlier in the week heading into that game against Spurs for Chelsea, and we were speaking about how he's been appointed a manager rather than a head coach. And I think that's quite an interesting thing. I think he's the first manager to be appointed at Chelsea since Jose Mourinho. So that's quite an interesting decision, I guess, to make. People will be wondering why Alonso, has wanted to go there under this regime that they're in. Managers have sort of almost been a bit of a straitjacket. They've been told to do, you're just solely focused on first team coaching and that's it. But maybe they're changing the ways now. Maybe they're sort of learning from previous mistakes. Previous managers were just tasked with first team coaching, but now it looks like Alonso would get more involvement, more influence at the club. Something that Enzo Maresca didn't get, something that Liam Rossini didn't get. So yeah, it's interesting that Chelsea. I think they've acknowledged that mistakes have been made under this current structure. So maybe they're now finally coming to their senses, and yeah, we'll see what positive changes now under Alonso will be. Will the philosophy in general at the club be tweaked? They've been signing a lot of younger players. They probably will still do that a bit, but they may. Well, in my view, I think they need to bring in more experienced players. That's what you need really. In every top quality team has experienced players, players that have won things, and I think Chelsea could do with some of those. So it'd be interesting to see if Alonso can maybe attract some of those, and yeah, and in general, I think a lot of the recruitment that we see in the summer will depend on whether Chelsea qualify for Europe. If they are in any, whether it's the Europa League, the Conference League, and that could have a big say on what recruitment is made in the summer, who they can attract, who may even be sold as well. So this game against Sunderland is a huge game for them. If they were to fall out of European contention completely, it would be a massive disappointment for Chelsea. Could set them back a little bit as well. So yeah, it's huge for Alonso, I guess, but massive for Chelsea as a club to win against Sunderland and get some form of European football, ideally Europa League, but they may just have to settle for Conference League again, which is European football, but I don't know how that would go down well with the fans. Going in the third best European league, we'll have to see. But yeah, it's a must win for Chelsea on Sunday. There's no other way to say it really.
Yeah, third tier competition again for Chelsea. So,
Mm.
I mean, that would have been probably below the minimum expectations for this season. At the other end of the spectrum, Ben, you've got Sunderland. This would be beyond all expectations to still be in with a chance of European football. And it's a very real chance. If they win this game and Brentford don't win at Anfield, they'll be playing European football next season. Both of those scenarios, you wouldn't maybe class as huge surprises if they were to happen. And if those two things do happen and Brighton lose to Man United, it's Europa League, not just Europa Conference League as well. So, incredible stuff from them.
Yeah, hate to say it, Barney. I think Brentford might win at Anfield, so your theory there might not come to fruition. But regardless of what happens at the Stadium of Light, it's been a phenomenal year for Regis Lebris, for the players, for the ownership. What has been so impressive this season has been their powers of recovery. Because at the Everton game, that 3-1 win, they've now picked up his 22 points from losing positions this season, which is more than any other team in the Premier League. And if they hadn't picked up any of those points at all, by now they'd be relegated. I think a lot of people were expecting relegation for Sunderland at the beginning of the season. I can proudly say that I wasn't one of them just because of the business that they did. I look back at the business that Nottingham Forest did in 2022, just sort of buying every single player under the face of the sun. Sunderland did a little bit similar, but on a smaller and a smarter scale. The likes of, Granit Xhaka, he's one of my signings of the season. How influential he's been. The likes of Mukiele, Alderete, Siddiqui being linked with Man United and Chelsea. Interestingly, same with Habib Diarra. That it has been a struggle for them at home recently. They previously, when it was 12 games unbeaten at the Stadium of Light in the top flight, they've now lost 4 of their last 6, scoring just twice in that time. So if you're a Chelsea fan, you're hoping that there is something in that for this weekend. But in terms of Sunderland's overall season, what Regis Lebris has done, rightfully a manager of the season candidate. That previous talk of the sack talk was just unbelievable, ridiculous, given how he took them up from the Championship, now settled into a really sort of, trying to find the right word here, a refreshing addition, I guess, to the Premier League. And I think we're going to enjoy watching them next season as well, regardless of whether they're in Europe or just the Premier League.
Okay, cheers, guys. I'm off to fact check Ben's claim that he didn't predict Sunderland to go down in our pre-season predictions.
You're wasting your time, Barney.
All right, thanks, guys. You can read the previews for these games over on sportsmail.co.uk and be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube videos to make sure you don't miss one going forward.